Everybody,
Happy Monday,
welcome back,
and hope you all had a really awesome day.
and a great weekend.
Yeah, boy, those go by fast.
They really do. I'll send some invites to everybody.
It's just amazing. It just seems like it was Friday Eve, and now it's Monday.
But we do hope that you guys had a happy Lord's Day
Yeah,
and got to use that. We said it yesterday, and we're like, "Hey, happy Lord's Day!"
That's pretty cool.
So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But happy Monday, and we're on Acts 23.
Acts 23.
And I think Rick's going to do a little recap for us. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, so we'll do a little recap so we can just catch up to where we're at. Paul, let's see here. Paul comes back to Jerusalem, as we know, and after that, after being warned by the prophet Agabus, what will happen? Remember when he tied his arms up with the belt? He said, "This is what's going to happen to you when you go to Jerusalem."
Okay.
Yeah. So after warning him, Paul goes ahead and goes to Jerusalem, of course, and the brothers there are excited. They totally receive him and everything, and James is there and the elders, and they're talking to him, and of course, right away, he's immediately attacked by the Jews again, using false accusations. They were saying that you teach all the Jews who are among you, or among the Gentiles, to forsake Moses, and telling them not to circumcise or walk according to their customs and things like that. So they use this false information, and now Paul is arrested, and he's in the temple, and the Jews from Asia stir up the temples. No, he's not arrested here. Yeah, he is. Paul is arrested, and then he's in the temple. The Jews stir up more problems, and they form a mob. And this causes such a ruckus that the Roman soldiers have to step in.
Crazy.
So everything was just like Agabus prophesied, because they did bind them up, and just like you said, it was walking in chains. So then the tribune came and arrested him, and in chapter 22, which is Paul makes a defense to the Jewish community, saying that he's a real Jew, and also that he was called by Christ. Then again, they become enraged as soon as they start hearing that. And so they raised their voices and said, "Away with such a fellow, from the earth." I mean, basically the same thing they said to Christ, away with this man. Basically meant to kill him. But they get upset and they start throwing dust. You remember they throw dust? And it almost makes me laugh because people act like that's stupid. But anyway, they throw dust in the air and act like a bunch of babies. So the Roman soldiers had to get Paul, and they brought him back to the barracks. And then they discovered Paul was not only a Jew, but a Roman citizen, and they had him bound up. Well, that was against Roman law. And so now these guys are freaking out because they don't want anybody to find out that he's been bound up as a Roman citizen. So Paul is brought to the council again, and now we're in Acts 23. So this is where we're at, Acts 23. And
That's cool.
yeah. And so we have...
Good reminders.
We have Acts 23, and the first note is yours.
Yes. And on verse 2 and verse 3, but on verse 2, Paul got whipped and beat already too. And so on verse 2, Ananias, the high priest, tells them to strike him on the mouth. Well, they don't just slap him. They almost punch him in the face, in the mouth. And so Paul's mad, of course, because he's just been beaten and everything else. And then he's kind of surprised because they punch him in the face. And so he's like, so that was verse 2. And then going into verse 3, he's like, "God's going to strike you, you whitewashed wall." And it was neat because I learned what that means is back in the, with Jesus and stuff, or I guess even before that, but I'm probably going to mess up a little bit. But in the tombs, if you were to touch anything unclean, including the tombs, then you'd be unclean and you'd have to go through the ceremony to get clean again. And so a lot of times where the tombs were, people would lean on them because they thought they were just stones because the walls were stone.
Oh, yeah.
And so they wouldn't know the difference and forget, and then they'd be unclean and have to go clean and purify. And so they painted them white so they would know that those were the tombs of dead people, so they wouldn't touch them. And so here he's saying that you whitewashed wall is because it means that you're white on the outside, not like white color, but you look clean and clean and purified on the outside, but on the inside you're really dead and dirty and unclean. And Jesus used those words too.
Yeah.
And he called somebody unclean,
Whitewashed
whitewashed. Yeah. And so that's what Paul's kind of saying. He's like, you guys are fake on the outside and you're really rotten on the inside.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's saying. So I thought that was neat.
That was good. And Ananias, I had a note on him because he served as a high priest, and he was eventually assassinated because he was so cruel.
Wow.
So him punching or striking him in the mouth was just one of his cruel acts.
That's awful.
Awful priest. So.
Very bad.
You got a note on number 6.
Number 6. It was this. It's very interesting. So the Sadducees and the Pharisees, they've been against Paul pretty much the whole time. Well, now Paul is, they're up to this, I don't want to say a trial in a sense, because he never really got a fair trial. But, so Paul realizes that he's not going to get anywhere. So he's very clever. He's going to play them against each other by using the truth. So he's not really being malicious, but he kind of is starting to talk about, Jesus, and no, come back here, down here.
Oh.
I'm up here. But Jesus and the resurrection. And so the Sadducees, and how I can remember this is it's Sadducees. They don't believe in anything. They don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe in anything that God's talked about or that the Bible's talked about. Not just all the Bible. They believe in some of the Old Testament. But they don't believe in Jesus at all. Where the Pharisees, they do believe and have hope in parts of it. So he's going to play them against each other when he talks about that, and then they start arguing amongst themselves and get off of Paul, which is kind of helpful. And so, because the Sadducees think there's no resurrection, and the Pharisees acknowledge it all. So remember, Sadducee, it really is sad because they don't believe anything.
They don't have any hope past this.
No.
So they're sad.
Yeah, so he's able to kind of put that towards helping him. And hi, Mom. Thanks for joining us.
Hello there. That's very interesting. Verse 11 I thought was interesting because here Jesus actually encourages Paul. And what's interesting about that, like Paul is going to need this to take courage in the Word of God, because in the Word of Christ, because he's getting ready to be, he's almost been assassinated. He's going to be, in the future, he's going to be shipwrecked. He's going to have legal problems, delays, storms. He's going to be snake bitten, anything you can imagine. And so he's going to be carrying this word, actually, that came right from Christ with him, just to keep him going. And so that's really amazing.
What part is that?
This here, right here. Verse 11, where Jesus says, take courage, for as you have testified to the facts about me in Jerusalem, so you must testify also in Rome.
Okay.
So saying that he's going to do it in Rome is at least a promise from Christ that you will make it there.
Okay, cool.
And that's great.
That's neat. You pointed that out.
Yeah, and for us, that's why we have the Word. So it helps us to keep going when everything else looks the wrong way. So
that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. So, okay, so anyway, the Jews go ahead and they make a plot.
Plot thickens.
The plot. And they made a plot, and they bound themselves. They want to kill Paul, and so
That's like an oath.
Yeah, and so they weren't going to eat or drink until they killed Paul. But Paul's sister's son found out about it and went to the barracks and went and told Paul about this. So Paul tells the tribune, and the tribune took him by the hand and says, "Is this true?" And he tells the whole story to him. And so the tribune. Then the tribune calls, he says, "Don't tell anybody about this else. Don't say anything else about it. I'm going to take care of this." And so he goes and calls some of the centurions, and he has, what it says, 200 soldiers, which are foot soldiers, and 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen go with Paul to Caesarea. Because what they were planning on doing is when Paul was being brought to court, they were going to kill him on the way. So at nighttime, the centurions and stuff carried him away with all this armor. That's
really cool. And I read, too, that the foot soldiers had to walk 40 miles, like, in that night. They had to walk 40 miles to get to the place they were going.
That's amazing.
So that's a long... They must have been really almost trotting.
It'd be really tough.
That'd be really hard.
So, all this to bring a letter because they're taking them to Felix, the governor. And so, what was his name again? I forgot his name. Oh, Claudius. This is pretty funny because he starts trying to make himself look good too, and he writes this letter. But anyway, so this is all to take the letter and Paul to Felix. you have a note on 27 actually about that.
Yes, and it's the note, which is exactly what you're just talking about. Is it's kind of funny, is because Claudius is like, well, as soon as I found out about this, I, made sure I got him to you and kept him safe. Well, he forgot the part that he also played in the part of keeping him in prison and beating him and binding him and I don't want to say torturing him, but almost beating him and torturing him. And he forgot about that part, so it's kind of interesting. But he made himself look good. He left out those details.
Yeah. Politically looking good.
Yes, that was kind of funny.
So the soldiers, according to their instructions, took Paul and took him to Antipatris. I don't know how to say his
Antipasta.
Antipasta. And anyway, as soon as the next day, the other soldiers went back, and the horsemen took him on to the barracks. So where we're at now is that Paul is going to.
Sorry, the dogs are going crazy.
I love it. So anyway.
Hey, we're doing Bible study. You're supposed to act good on camera.
Hey, Jews. Hey, Paul. Stop it.
We're supposed to look good on camera, y'all.
Yeah.
We have the best behaved dogs.
I love it.
We better cut this piece out, so that way it's like the letter. Go ahead with what you're saying.
Where we're at now is that now Paul is being brought to Felix, and so tomorrow we're going to find out more about what goes on there.
That's really cool. And there's interesting stuff because Felix is a really bad guy.
He is, yeah.
And didn't you tell me he's like somehow descended all the way from Cleopatra or something?
No, he married Cleopatra's either daughter or granddaughter, and but I don't know the full story of it. I mean, I just heard it today about that.
But he's like really bad.
Yeah, he's a bad dude.
Yeah.
But he started off as a slave and worked his way up into almost like a king kind of royalty. So he wasn't the top of the notch thing, but he was pretty high up there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, thanks for the recap too. I think it's good it helps me to remember stuff.
Well, because over the weekend.
It is funny though how the letter was made to look good. Our dogs are showing that we're not.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Happy real life Monday.
Tomorrow is X24, and check that out, and you'll get back with us tomorrow, and we'll talk about that.
And just a couple more chapters. We're going to finish this book too. So great. Good job, you guys, for hanging in there with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
Love you guys.
Love you lots.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.